Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and these are the hottest Golden Age comics for the week. Number 10 on the list is Walt Disney Comics and Stories number 98, which is really volume 9, number 2. And this is from Dell, 1948, and it is an Uncle Scrooge, kind of the first Uncle Scrooge appearance in Walt Disney Comics and Stories. So it's kind of a key book for that. Also, it's a Halloween cover. It has, these, the Huey, Dewey, and Louie being like witches. And that is something cool because a lot of people collect these Halloween covers. So, it's just doubly cool for that reason. This was a eBay sale. It was for a CGC 2.5, and it sold for $32. Now, the thing that I thought was interesting about this one was it had 17 bids. I just thought it was incredible it had that many bids and still only was $32. It's actually a George Ward cover, and it features Carl Barks art inside. Normally this book in higher grades can go for some pretty big money. Even in a 3.5, it has had a sale as high as $149 back in June of 2022. In this grade though, in a 2.5, there is just no prior sales. So it's really hard to figure out how much it's actually worth. Generally, what happens with these Disney books is as the grade gets higher and higher, obviously, it becomes much more scarce. There's usually a lot in the lower grades, but not as many in the high grades. So after about a 6, the price 6.0 grade, the prices can really jump. So these lower grade ones can kind of go a little bit under the radar, but to see a 2.5, slabbed book, it's a pretty good deal for $32. Probably within the price that it's worth, but you think of the grading costs, you're basically getting the book for free. There are 82 of these on the census, and 79 of them are Universal Blue Labels. The next one, number 9 on the list, is a Heritage Auction one that came up. Was JoJo Comics number 16. This is from Fox, 1948 as well. And it's a Jack Kamen cover with like great good girl bondage on it. The hair on it kind of reminds me of Matt Baker's style, but Matt Baker didn't do the cover. He did the interior artwork for this book. So it has like a double key for that reason, because it's a great bondage cover and it's got Matt Baker interior art, which is another thing people collect. This was a raw 2.0 that sold on Heritage for $144. Now, there are no prior records in this grade, but a 3.5 sold for $114 back in 2017. So this is a pretty strong sale for this book. It's one that I think has gone up in recent time because, just the popularity of these Fox Syndicate features. It's just one of those books that has become more and more popular over the time as people have sort of embraced the Golden Age and good girl art. There's 32 of these on the census, and 32 of them are Universal Blue Labels. So pretty good sale for this book, $144 for a 2.0. Number 8 on the list is Captain Marvel Jr. 115. And this is from Fawcett, 1952. It is known as the Eye Popper cover. It's a classic, monster getting punched in the face, all of his eyes popping out, hundreds of eyes. Just really cool cover. Kind of one that is often under the radar. More recently, though, this book has been getting a little bit of heat to it. It's a Bob Thompson cover. And this was another raw copy that came up for sale on Heritage. Really nice presenting 4.0. And it sold for $810. Now, this one had a prior record back in 2017 for $275. And even a 5.0 had sold in 2021 for $669. So this is a pretty strong sale for a 4.0 raw copy. And there was even a 3.5 that sold for $528 back in 2023, April of this year. So really strong sale. This book is, I think it's getting a little bit more heat because it's kind of a cool cover. It's one that was a little bit under the radar, and it's got a lot of that classic pre-code horror feel to it because of the the eye popping out and these almost grotesque element to it. So those kind of books generally get a little bit more popular as people discover them, and this one's definitely an eye-opener, which is what it says actually on the book itself. There are 47 of these on the census, and 47 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 7 on the list is Amazing Ghost Stories number 14. Now, this was actually on last week's list as well. And this is from St. John Publications from 1954. And the cover was actually inspired by a creature from the Black Lagoon. So you have these kind of similar creatures coming out of this swamp-like thing. And it's a Matt Baker cover, which is very desirable, especially when Matt Baker does horror, because he's not really known for horror. He's more known for romance or good girl or westerns even, but not really horror. So this is kind of an interesting one for him. This was a raw copy that came up on eBay, and it was listed as a 2.0, but it's a very nice presenting 2.0. I think maybe if you got a cleaned and pressed, maybe it could get a 3.0, maybe a 3.5. So there's potential behind this book, and it sold for $910 on eBay. Now, just to give you a sense of whether or not this is a good book, really depends on how the book grades out. But a 1.5 sold back in February of this year for $432. And but as recently as July of 2023, there was a 3.0 that had sold for $1,200. And this book goes up really, really fast after that. So a 4.0 sold for $3,360 in 2022. So this book has some pretty big sales behind it. So for, this is one of those ones where as a raw copy, you could either get a really great deal. If it grades out at a 3 or 4, you're making some serious money on this book. If it grades out in the lower grades, like a 1.8 or 1.5, maybe you've paid a little bit over what the market would be. So this is kind of a strong sale for a raw copy because it's really a bit of a gamble based on how well the book grades out. So just an interesting one. There's 42 of these on the census, and 38 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Next on the list is a really great book. It's number 6. It's All Flash Quarterly number 1. This is from 1941 from DC Comics, and it's the Flash origin retold, and it's one of these early Flash series. So this is his first titled book. I think there's Flash Quarterly and it's All Flash, and then Flash Comics. So those are the 2 titles that Flash had. And this is kind of a major book because it's number 1 of that Flash Quarterly series. It's a Hibbard cover, sorry. And it was a CGC 2.5 that sold on eBay for $2,100. And it's old label, so it could even, in theory, be cracked and pressed and maybe get a higher grade. And that was kind of one of the selling points for this book. $2,100 for it, though. There are no prior records in this grade, so a 2.5 just doesn't have any previous records. So this is the highest sale ever for a 2.5. There was a 2.0 that sold, however, back in September of 2022 for $2,092, and a 3.0 that sold in May of 2023 for $1,956. So there's a lot of price compression around this book, where pretty much anywhere from a 2 to a 3.0, pretty much not much difference, like maybe $100 difference in pricing. There's really very little price changes between those grades. So for a 2.5 to sell at 2,100, that's actually higher than the 3.0. That's a pretty good sale for this book. There are 156 of these on the census, and 118 of them are blue labels. Number 5 on the list is Superman number 9. Now, this is from December 1941. It's one of those yellow covers with Superman busting through the cover. Really classic sub number 10 covers for Superman, which are like pretty popular classic covers. It's a Fred Ray cover. It was a CGC 9.0 restored copy that came out. So this is one of those cases where restored can really, really impact the grade, sales price, I should say. It sold for $3,240. Now, this, generally when you get into those super high grades and it's restored, the value can go down as much as like 90%. So massive decrease in value. So this one actually had a lot done to it. It had spine, seal, and cover cleaned. So a fair amount was done to this book to get it to that 9.0. But just to give you a comparison, a blue label 9.0 sold for $8,844 in 2011. That's a that's a pretty big price change. So this one being a restored book, there are previous sales to it. There was a sale in, I think it was in December of 2013 for $1,161. So in that 10-year period, it's gone up like 3 times. So it's really hard to say how much this is worth because it is restored. There's nothing really to compare it to in the blue labels. Generally, you would expect it to be around 20% of that blue label, maybe 10% if you're being really rough. So probably if a blue label came up for sale now, maybe it would go for around $30,000. That would be my guess. So this is a pretty strong sale, just a really interesting one. There are 239 of these on the census, and 185 of them are universal blue labels. Number 4 on the list is Detective Comics number 67. This is from December 1942. It is the first time that you see the penguin on the cover. And it's a kind of a classic cover because it's kind of a quirky cover because he's riding an ostrich, which is really weird. But it is a cool cover. This book is interesting because it also has an ad for Wonder Woman 1. So kind of an interesting book as well. It's a Jerry Robinson cover. And this was another restored copy that came up on sale on eBay for $6.0, and it sold for $3,499. And it's a slight restoration on this one. Now, that's actually a pretty strong sale, but not a great sale. It really this was a buy it now offer, which was kind of, it seemed like the person was just trying to sell it quickly, because a 6.5 blue label goes for around $16,800. That was the last sale back in 2022. And there was even a restored 6.0 that sold for $3,975, so roughly $500 more, in February of 2022. So for this one, just somebody, I guess, was trying to sell it quickly and, was willing to take a little bit of a loss on it. There are 92 of these on the census, and 77 of them are universal blue labels. So interesting book. I was a little bit surprised by this one. So there are deals to be found in the golden age, and this was a bit of a steal, not a huge steal, like you save $500, but kind of an interesting one. I always found this book a really interesting one because it is a cool kind of iconic cover because it is the first Penguin cover. Okay, number 3 on the list is Captain America Comics number 74. This is from Timely 1949. It is the first of 2 issues that had the Weird Tales title. It's got 3 horror stories inside, and it's a classic Red Skull cover. Just a really great cover done by Martin Nodell. And this was a really interesting one because it was a CGC 1.0, and it sold for $4,000. There are no prior records for this book. However, there was a 2.0 that sold for $6,785 back in 2022, and there was a 0.5, so half a grade lower, that sold for $6,000 in 2022 as well. So this is a bit of a steal as well. So this is down 50% from the 0.5, the lower grade. I would have expected this book to sell for in that $6,000 range, but somebody got it for a steal. They got it for $4,000. This was I think it was a buy it now even, or one bid on a $4,000 book or something. It was like a really weird eBay sale. So there's 92 of these on the census, and 78 of them are Universal Blue Labels. So a couple steals on this list. Number 2 is Chamber of Chills number 23. This is from Harvey, 1954. It is a Lee Elias cover. It is sort of like the Corpse Kiss cover, where you get this girl and she's being kind of kissed by a corpse. What else can you say? It's a really gruesome cover, and it's a very popular cover. It's like, I think it's in the top 100 of best pre-code horror covers of all time. This was a CGC 4.5 that sold on eBay for $6,550. Again, this is a new record, no prior records in this grade, but there were a recent sale for a 5.5 back in December of 2021 for, there was actually a 4.5. Sorry, I misspoke there. There was a prior sale for a 4.5 for $3,269. So it is still a new record, but it's not a only sale. There was a 5.5 that sold though for $4,800 and just $4,800 in 2022. So this is up even over the higher 5.5 grade by over $1,700. So it's a really big sale for this book. There are 103 of these on the census, and 99 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Next on the list is Action Comics number 23. Now this is a bit of a controversial book because this is from December 1940. And if you look at the notes on this book, it says that it is the first appearance of Lex Luthor, maybe Superman's most notorious or his main rival, kind of like Batman's Joker level of villain for Superman. So Lex Luthor's first appearance in this book is what the notes say. It's also the first mention of the Daily Planet. That's a bonus, a double key for this book. However, the interesting thing about this book is the publication dates. Now, Superman number 4 also features Lex Luthor in it. And from what I can see, based on when they both hit the newsstand, Superman 4 came out 1 week earlier. So Superman came out in February 15th of 1940, and Action Comics 23 came out in February of 1940 on the 23rd. So it came out just a week earlier. And the confusion that I think CGC fell into was the publication dates were actually set to be the opposite of that. Superman 4 was meant to come out after Action Comics 23, but actually it hit the newsstands earlier. So Superman 4 is the true first appearance of Lex Luthor. Just interesting one, but this one is on the CGC label, labeled as the first appearance of Lex Luthor. So this was an eBay sale, and it was a CGC 1.5, and it sold for $7,100. Now, there is a previous record that was set back in 2012 for this book, a long time ago, 11 years ago, and it sold for $1,800. So this is a pretty massive increase, like 3.5 times for this book. So it's really gone up over the years. But it's one that, as I said, might not be the better book to spec on. I'd almost recommend specking on Superman 4 because it is the true first appearance of Lex Luthor. There's 154 of these on the census, and 104 of them are Universal Blue Labels. So that is the list, the hottest comics for the week. I hope you enjoyed this list. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And remember to subscribe to the channel. Tomorrow, I'll be showing the hottest Silver Age books. So stay tuned for that. And thanks again for watching. Bye for now.